Hello, welcome to the Joe Cortez Show here in Las Vegas, Nevada, the entertainment and the sports capital of the world. Well, today, my co-host, Shelly, she's not here today. She's not feeling well. I tell her to take care of health. It comes first, so I'm going to do the show by myself today. And we have other people in mind for the next coming weeks. But I want to talk to you about, I'm going to call the show today, No Worries. No Worries Show. And thing is, the reason why I said don't worry, because, too many people worry about so many minor things. My thing is, everything is doable, no problems. I say to myself, everything's going to be okay. You should not worry about anything. I feel like today it's a great day. We're alive. Thank God we're alive. Health is the most important. That's why I told Shelly, take care of yourself first. Health is so important. You can come back another day. I can do a show by myself because I had this good time that I have that I can share my feelings about people out there, how I feel about my friends and family members. I always say everything is possible. I love to be on the positive side. I like to feel like I'm helping people. I want to help people get on the right track. So many individuals are always going through difficult times, and I say, we can make it happen. I think that, being around all kinds of people from all walks of life, I've had the honor and I've been blessed by being able to travel around the world and meet people from all walks of life. I'm one of the places that I felt kind of a little leery about going to was China. And China is supposed to be a communist country, but I met some of the nicest people there. Military guy who was a boxing referee in the amateurs, and a young lady, she was going to college and she was our interpreter for the day. And I remember her telling me, she was crying, but we went to the Great Wall of China. We were walking around. At the end, we were saying goodbye to each other. She was with us the whole day, and I talked about my daughters, my three daughters, Cindy, Sandy, Christine, how I love them and how I care for them. And I said, I love people from all walks of life. And the young lady, she started crying. We were saying goodbye. I said, why are you crying? She's a college girl. Why are you crying? She said, oh, I wish I had a father like you. You're so kind and caring for people. And you know what? I choked up. I couldn't believe that she was so emotionally disturbed because of maybe the way they treat him in China. But I believe in treating everybody the same. I don't care where you're from, who you are, enemy, friend, whatever. I want to treat you all the same. I love everybody out there. My mother raised me up in a way, can make our rest her soul. My mother, Innocencia, she brought up 4 boys by herself. And my mother taught us to love people, care for people, don't put anybody down, always give a helping hand. And I really love doing that because that's what makes me feel like very special. We got an engineer here at the studio, Rick Manning. He's what a sweetheart. I've been with him about 8 years, I think, more or less. 8 years doing my show every Friday, for the exception of the time when I got caught COVID and I was down. I was in the hospital for 5 months. And I always felt like, I'm in the hospital. I know thousands of people are dying every day for that COVID. But my daughter, Cindy, who's in a wheelchair, some of you know that she was in a car accident and she ended up a quadriplegic. But she is so positive. I would talk to her on my phone, my FaceTime on the phone, and we'd talk to each other. And every day she would call me and say, Daddy, how you doing today? How you feel? I said, honey, talking to you makes me feel like a new person because she never complains about anything. I mean, she's paralyzed from here down. She can move her arm, but she had no fine motion. She can't move her fingers, but she drives a car. She's been driving a car for the accident that took place 29 years ago. She could drive probably better than me and most of my friends out there. She's a hell of a driver. And she inspired me to get myself back on my feet. And that's what I want to do today, get you guys back on your feet. Those of you think that life is tough, life is difficult, it can be. But you know what? There is a God. There is a God, and you pray to God, and He'll help you. Rick Manning, my man, Rick Manning, the engineer here, he went through some health issues, and you know what? He's coming back like a champ. He reminds me of me when I was fighting. Got skinny, I was fighting as a bantamweight, 118. Rick weighs about 145 right now, if that. He was about 25 heavier than that, 25 pounds heavier, but the man looks great. He looks good, he thinks very positive, and I can see him. Every time I come to the studio, I can see that he's like, He's getting better. I can see the improvement. He probably can't see it himself, but I can see it. He's getting to be like a champ, ready to make a good comeback in the very near future. So anyway, people like Rick Mann. I was talking to an individual the other day, changing the topic. I was talking to an individual the other day who was a FBI agent. And he retired as an FBI agent, but he was an interrogator with Saddam Hussein, who remember that Saddam Hussein was one of our worst terrorist enemy we ever had. And I see we got a picture. I was with, his name is George Perry. George Perry was, like I said, I presented him with a boxing glove. He did a speech for a group of about 100. And I said, yeah, this guy is a hero. What he did, talking to all of us about the days, the weeks, the months that he spent with Saddam Hussein. He was same nationality, so as the FBI agent, he only had about 12 that could speak the language that he spoke. So they sent George Pirro to I believe it was Iran or Iraq, and he went out there to talk to Saddam Hussein while he was in prison. And he questioned him so many things. He said, Saddam Hussein, we didn't believe in nothing. He was only for himself. But I guess when he went to jail, he started praying to God. You know, he had to do he's a Muslim. He had to get on his knees like 4 or 5 times a day. But he didn't have a watch, so he would ask the FBI agent, can you help me? You have a watch? And will you be able to tell me what time it is? Because I got to do a prayer every 2 hours. So anyway, my friend George Pirro was able to give it a time. And he would say, all right, he would get down on his knees, and he would get on the floor and pray. And he said that was the first time that this man ever believed in anybody besides himself. He said he believed in God. He was hoping that things would work out for him. But okay, you all know, they put him to he was assassinated. They blew him away. The FBI do what they had to do with this guy, and he got destroyed. He got a little taste of his own medicine. But the thing is that we don't want to be out there today as individuals. We don't want to see all these terrorist attacks on people, these youngsters out there dying of fentanyl and guns and whatnot, gangs. You know, one of the things that I did when I was growing up in New York, I joined St. Martin's Nautical Cadets. My mother got us into a cadet program, and we were able to learn how to march, how to use a rifle. We did the parades on Fifth Avenue at a Navy cadet uniform, and we walked down the street, and we felt so big, really like maybe 10, 11, 12 years old. And that's what kept us on the right track at the beginning. My mother got us involved with something. She didn't want to see us go the wrong way. Too many young kids these days, they want to feel tough, so they join a gang. You know, I didn't believe in doing that. I tried it for one day. I said, that's not for me. My brother Mike was going to the boys club, boxing. So my brother Mike started boxing first. Then he would come home with some trophies, some little medals for the boys club. He got me a little jealous. He said, come on, Joe, you can do it. And my mother said, Joe, you can't fight because, you fell off that wall. Years ago, about 10 years ago, I fell off a wall and I broke my jaw on both sides. I lost a couple of teeth in the front and one in the bottom. So I was hospitalized for a whole month. But I snuck away with my brother to the boys club a couple of times. And so, I tried to move it around. He was laughing at me. He said, you look so awkward. But I was 15 years of age. But then I said to myself, I got to do it. My brother's doing it. I can do it. My mother didn't want me to fight. And she said, no, you can't fight. But anyway, I snuck away to the boys club on 111th Street, Manhattan, in New York, where I was born and raised. And the boys club got me on the right track. Johnny Markell, German descent, he was a trainer there. And he was training my brother Mike and a couple other fighters. And then he got me in there learning how to hit the heavy bag, how to hit the speed bag, and how to move, slip, move, jab, move around, hit and don't get hit. Anyway, a year later, when I was 16, I went into the Golden Gloves, and would you believe that my brother Mike and I were the second set of brothers to ever win the Golden Glove championships in New York the same night in different weight classes. Then I won the Spanish Golden Gloves that same year. Then the following year, which was 1961, a lot of years ago, and my brother Mike and I joined the boys club. We were at the boys club, and we joined the Golden Gloves. It was sponsored by the New York Daily News at the time. And we started again with the tournament, and we reached the semifinals. Then we got to the finals, and again, my brother Mike and I won the Open Golden Glove Championship in New York City. So we were now Open champions, novice champion, and the first brothers to win novice and Open 2 consecutive years. So we said, wow, I was 17 years of age. And again, like I said before, it's not about me. The reason why I'm saying this is because I want you parents out there or anyone who knows these young kids, get these young kids off the street, like the great Gaspar Indian Ortega, who was a great welterweight fighter, came from Mexico, came to New York, 99th Street, where I live between Park and Madison, about 2 blocks from east of Central Park. Anyway, so Gaspar Ortega was like a mentor for us, got us on the right track. And Gaspar Ortega guided us, he told us not to be, we used to jump alleys from one building on the roof, we used to run and jump the alley to another building. He said, you guys are crazy, you guys are going to get killed like that. Anyway, so we got some good people that got us on the right track, but Johnny Markel, who was my trainer at the Boys Club, said, Joe, you guys are doing well, I'm very proud of you and your brother Mike. Anyway, now the Eastern Golden Glove Championships. The Eastern Golden Glove Championships in Madison Square Garden, every fighter in that tournament was a champion for their respective state. And these fighters were really top-notch fighters. They were champions. I had a fight in that tournament for the Eastern Golden Glove Championship. And my brother Mike and I got to the semifinals. We reached the semifinals. Then the finals, the last night of the finals in Madison Square Garden, I remember, that's because I still got the article, 12,400 fans in Madison Square Garden, where we fought the Eastern Golden Glove Championship, semifinals and finals. Same night, I got out there first, and I won by knockout in the first round. And this guy, like I said before, they were all champions for their respective state. I knocked out my first opponent, Ralph Jackson. Then my brother came up behind me, and he beat a guy, I forgot where he's from, something Anderson. And then I came up the second time, and would you believe, there's a guy named Clyde Tyler, I knocked him out as well in the second round. And people say, wow, man, Joe, you knocked out 2 guys. The reason why I'm saying this is because, like I said, it's not about me, but I want you guys to realize if you think you have the desire and you have you want to go all the way to the top, you got to do your homework. You got to work harder. It's not given to you. We had to work harder in the gyms. We trained every day, hours in the morning, but got to do a road work before I went to school, 5 o'clock in the morning, whether it was sunny, whether it was raining or snow, whatever, we were out there running in Central Park around the reservoir. We used to do like 2 laps around the reservoir. That took like a total about 3 miles, 3 or 4 miles every day. And we run to the park and run all the way from the reservoir 2 times and then come back home to 99th Street. And my brother Mike and I winning the Eastern Golden Glove Championship, we were so proud. And everybody, wow, everybody in my neighborhood. And I remember I was being bullied a lot when I was a young kid. But when we started winning this Golden Glove Championship, you know, I didn't need a gang around me to have confidence in myself. I was walking down the street by myself. I never went to jail, never got a criminal record. I did everything correct. My mother guided us in the right way and kept us out of trouble. And thanks for Gaspar Ortega. And I want you people out there to try to do the same. You got kids in your neighborhood that need a little help. You know, they're by themselves. They've come from broken homes. They need a little guidance. Help them out a little bit. Anyway, so we won the Eastern Golden Glove Championship, and then they sent us up to Bear Mountain to train for about 10 days, to train, get prepared to fight for the Intercity. It was called the National Golden Glove Championship. Intercity, Chicago versus New York. The New York had the Eastern champions, and the West Coast had the Chicago team. So we fought at the old Chicago Stadium. And I can tell you a little bit more in a second after I go to this. What happened that day? We went to Chicago, my brother Mike and I. My brother Mike, he was all up, his stomach was upset. He couldn't take the plane. They were not a jet, but it was a prop plane. So it took a little longer to get to Chicago. But we got there about 4.5 hours later for New York. And we both fought at the old Chicago Stadium. My brother Mike fought a fighter by the name of Tommy O'Shea. And I fought a fighter by the name of Oscar German. Oscar German was on the same team with Muhammad Ali. At the time with Muhammad Ali the year before, he was called Cassius Clay. That was Muhammad Ali's birth name. Anyway, So Oscar German and Cassius Clay at the time, they were good buddies. And I saw them fighting back Square Garden in 1960, the year that I was a novice. I saw this guy, Oscar German. He knocked out a guy named Rivera from Puerto Rico in the finals. I said, wow, that guy Oscar German, what a puncher. And that was my first year I was watching as a novice in 1960. So 61, who am I going to face for the national championship? Oscar German. Now, you all know Emmanuel Stewart. Emmanuel Stewart was a great trainer, and one day, he had some of the best fighters in the world. Tommy Hearns, Michael Mora. He had so many world champions. One day, I was in Germany refereeing a fight in Hamburg, and he came up to me. He said, "Joe, are you that skinny Puerto Rican from New York?" Because I was a bantamweight. I was tall, lanky, 118-pounder. And he said, "Are you a skinny Puerto Rican from New York that beat Oscar German in Chicago for the national championship?" I said, "Yes, that's me." He said, "Joe, you know why I didn't get to fight you? Because he beat me in the semifinal, and you beat the guy that beat me." And I said, "Wow." And, Emmanuel Stewart, one of the greatest, but he rested in peace. He passed away a couple of years ago. And he was a hell of a trainer. And I tell you, the reason why I'm talking to you about what I've done in the past, not to brag, but to show you that you can do it if you put it all out and say, I can do it. When I turned pro, and I had my 5th pro fight, I got upset, and I joined the Army. Talking about the Army, our veterans out there, this Veterans Week, I can tell you guys, we salute you guys for all that you have done and served our country. I did it back in the early '63 when I was 18 years old. I went into the Army after I lost. My first fight in pro was my 5th fight. That was my first loss. So anyway, when I was in the Army, I was still able to fight some fights outside of the Army. I couldn't fight in the Army because I was already a professional. They would let me fight with the amateurs. I didn't want to fight with the amateurs. But anyway, I was a lieutenant and Father Sheen, and Lieutenant, I forgot his name. Anyway, they let me on the weekend get away. I got to go away to Hawaii a couple of times, and I got to go to Laredo and to Juarez, where I had some fights. Box rec got me for, I think, 11-1 or 12-1, but my real record is 18-1, because there were some fights that I did in Mexico and I recorded with the great Gaspar Adrian Ortega was fighting. But anyway, what I'm saying to you individuals out there, let's talk about helping these kids out there. These youngsters need a little bit of help. And some of you adults out there, some of you adults, you need some help as well. Sometimes you're doing things and you say to yourself, well, why am I that way? Why am I so cruel? Try to be loving and caring with everybody the way I am. Enemies, friends, whatever, family members, love everybody out there. Because life is short, and God is watching every move that you're making. You have to try to be the best you can. And I know that, being on the show like this today, without my co-host Shelley, who's sick, and I wish you speedy recovery. But let's also talk about last night. Last night, I went to a hotel, the M Hotel. There's a gentleman by the name of Lawrence Lett. And Lawrence called me and said, "Joe, I have a friend of mine from Chicago. His name is Tony, and I forgot his last name, but I know Tony." He said, "Yeah, I remember." He said he was at a nursing home in Henderson, Nevada, and you went to visit him a couple of years ago. That he said he wanted to meet you, somebody that was working there knew you. I said, "Yeah, I remember Tony, the guy in the wheelchair with the cap on from United Kingdom." He said, "Yes, I want to show you a little picture of Tony." There he was last night. This after we had a little dinner last night, and Tony, what a good guy. He was a trainer in the United Kingdom. He trained some fighters in Chicago. Good guy. There he is when I met him 2 years ago. He was so happy. Look at the happy face, the spot on his face. He was so happy. I raised his hand up as a champion. And this is what I'm talking about, giving back to the community, helping people out there, be loving and caring. Don't let nobody put you down. If they put you down, get back up like I did. You get knocked down, you get up. I never got knocked down, but I said, in the real world, here he is with his beautiful wife. They were both in wheelchairs. And my friend who invited me to dinner last night, Larry, he pushed his wife, and I pushed Tony in the wheelchair down for the transportation. They were beautiful people. I really loved those. And this is what I'm talking about, loving people and caring for them. Always try to do the best you can, because you share your love with individuals out there. We talked about boxing. We talked about Ricky Hatton, may he rest in peace, a fighter I referee against Floyd Mayweather, and I refereed with somebody else in United Kingdom when I did, when he was active. He was coming up in the ranks. I refereed a world title fight of his. And, there's always people out there you want to just reach out to and say, we care for people. Ricky Hatton was a hell of a fighter. I tell you, may his soul rest in peace. And he took his life a couple of weeks ago. We were like, I think it was last month. We say there's something, sometimes people have a mental issue, mental problem. There's something not right with them. And we have to say, we got to help these people out. That's why you say, you see somebody out there, you don't know what they're going through. Some people, they change their character overnight. That's not the person I knew before, but they probably need some help. And that's where we come in, to help people out like that. There's so many people that are suffering out there, youngsters and adults as well. But I love talking to the seniors, and I love talking to the kids. I go to the schools and talk to these kids about doing the right things in life. More or less what I'm talking about right now, but I talk to them more about how I grew up. From a broken home, a single parent, mother was the only one who took care of us, how we made it. We stayed out of trouble, out of gangs, no gangs, no guns, no drugs, and we still turned out to be decent people, I want to just try to keep going forward. There's so many people out there suffering from so many health issues, whether it's mental, whether it's physical. Individuals suffer from cancer, like my buddy Rick Manning, going through health. But you know what? He's a champion in my book. And there's so many people out there, my wife Sylvia and my daughter Sadie, got through cancer. And me myself, about 13 years ago. And I didn't tell nobody nothing when I had my little cancer, little surgery done. And you know what? I was back in the ring. 2 months later, I was back in the ring again. Nobody knew what I was going through. Sometimes there's people out there that are going through issues. You don't know what they're going through. And me at the time, when my daughter had that accident, and she ended up quadriplegic, and I had just finished refereeing a week after. I had just finished doing Oscar De La Hoya, and when he beat Julio Cesar Chavez. And a week later, my daughter had the accident. And you know what? I fought it. I tell you, I got to be strong. I got to keep up. I was doing fights. I had to stop. I kept doing. I took maybe a month off, but I saw my daughter. She went to a rehab, and she was doing good, very positive. Everything before was positive. I said, I got to. She said, Daddy, keep doing what you do with your boxing. I kept on, but I always kept an eye on her. But she also encouraged me to keep going forward. So, after all those years, people did not know what I was going through. I had gone through cancer surgery. My wife Sylvia had gone through cancer as well, and my daughter Sadie just got through finishing her chemo and radiation about 2 months ago, and my daughter Sadie with being in the wheelchair for an auto accident. So you think you guys got it bad? Look at me and look how positive I am. You always got to think positive and thank God every day for what you're doing. Thank God for giving you the chance to recover and make it back. When I got hit with that COVID, that was really bad. I mean, if somebody tried to take your breath, you can't hardly breathe. Well, that's the way I was until I got into that emergency room. My doctor, Dr. William Jacks, I called him up. He said, Joey, if you feel anything, because I told him I tested positive when I went to one of the fights as a instant replay at the MGM Hotel Vegas. I was already retired as a referee, but I was doing some instant replay for the boxing commission. And then I had to get tested for COVID the day before the event. And they sent me to my room. And I said, Joe, if you get a call in the morning, that means you're positive. If we don't call you, you go downstairs at 10 o'clock and have your breakfast. But they called me at 7:30 in the morning. Dr. Leon called me up and said, Joe, you tested positive, and we have to escort you out of the hotel. You have to go home and stay in a room by yourself. You got to be in a place without this disease, very contagious. So you have to be in quarantine. I said, all right. So I called my daughter Sandy, and I went to her house. She was living by herself, so I went there, and she gave me a room, one part of the house. I was out of the 4 bedrooms that she's got there. So she gave me one of the rooms. I was staying there. And the 5th day, I started feeling a shortness of breath. I called Dr. Jack. Dr. Jack, my doctor said, I feel a little short. He told me to call you if I feel shortness of breath. I feel it in now. He said, Joe, I'll be right there. Can you imagine? My own doctor, William Jacks. Dr. William Jacks. And he picked me up. And I remember I couldn't go through the house because my daughter could catch it. So they opened up a window. We were at the ground level. I opened up the window and I climbed out the window. He took me to his car and took me to the Mountain View Hospital where I had my treatment out there. They brought me in and got me on the oxygen tank and whatnot. I was there for 5 months, like I said before. And it was sad, but, we made it. We made it through. And that's why I'm telling you individuals out there, please, if you have any problems, you have any health issues, like mental problems, there's a number you can call. Be a suicide line, I believe it's 888. Call the suicide line if you feel like you're going to commit suicide, or if you have issues, call 911 emergency. Tell them, I don't feel right. I don't want to do something stupid. Call 911 for help, or call your neighbors, somebody. Don't ever try to do it by yourself. Sometimes when you do it by yourself, the best thing you can do is pray to God to help you and say, God, please help me, forgive me for my sins, and please help me make it through, because I got a family, loved ones, so many friends and family members, children, grandchildren. I got the most beautiful grandchildren. We all say that as grandparents, and the most beautiful great-granddaughter. Ricky, Bryce, Ayana, and Maya. And then the little one, my little one, great-granddaughter, Isabel. We call her Izzy. And she's adorable. We spend a lot of time, and that's why we want to spend time with our family, loved ones, care for them. But, sometimes we feel lost, and we feel like we need a little help. And sometimes the individuals out there, I have a friend whom I'm helping out right now. Her name is Delilah Ramos. Delilah V is Victory. Ramos is a boxing judge out of Chicago, and she's an amateur judge and referee, but she's been refereed about 300-400 amateur fights. And that guy that I was with last night, Lorenzo, and his buddy Tony, said, we know that girl in Chicago. She's a good referee. She's doing a good job. I said, yeah, well, we're hoping to train her pro. So if you're watching Delilah, remember, we think the world of you. Everybody's talking good about you in Chicago, your good work you're doing as a referee. Keep up the good work. And I guarantee you, 2026 is going to be your year where you're going to start doing your first professional fights as a referee. Having a female referee, you hardly didn't see that years ago, but now you got these females boxing. They got Katie Taylor from Ireland, and you got Amanda Serrano from Puerto Rico. Those girls have fought 3 times already. And you were talking about fights. These girls have sold out Madison Square Garden, main event in Madison Square Garden. I mean, boxing is all the way out to the top there for female boxing, and that's why I said pretty soon you're going to see top, like Delilah, top referee in the pros as well. Female referee doing the big fights. I guarantee you that's going to happen in due time. And besides that, what I can tell you again, you got individuals out there watch with the fentanyl. These young kids, the fentanyls will take you away like overnight. And then guns is another thing. Guns and drugs are not going to get you to place. But a lot of individuals start with smoking pot. Or they start drinking, they get intoxicated, and their friends, all of a sudden, the other guy that you're hanging around with, he has some weed in his pocket. He said, come and smoke this. Before you know it, you are cocaine and you are heroin, and they say, you're doing crazy things out there you normally wouldn't do. That's why we have to help one another, help these youngsters, my friends out there that are against me for whatever I do or whatever I say. I feel sorry for you because I'm just trying to help people out there. I don't want to do anything bad for anybody. Everybody out there watching this show, I love you all, regardless of how you feel about me. I want you to know that love is so special, especially when it comes to your family, your neighbors. Love. God always said, love thy neighbor, and love your children. Your children, we're all God's children. We have to say, we're all God's children, so we have to try to be together. We're all one family. We've got to help one another, make sure we go on the right track. With that said, guys, I want you to keep your guards up at all times. And remember, I'm fair, but I'm firm. But most importantly, love one another, care for one another. God bless you. See you next week. Take care. Good luck.